Hey everybody, quick NFL algorithm update for week 16. I went over all the games to give you an educated synopsis of what is happening this week. And I also went over all the standings. Did a good job here. Really digging into everything. Figured out who's playing for something right now, who's basically eliminated, and who's pretty sure they're getting into the playoffs in a very good situation and may not need to win this week, even though they haven't fully secured everything. I went through all of the standings to look at the games, and so I can tell you each game where the algorithm definitely is missing a key piece of information, meaning, does this game matter for my season as a team? Sometimes that will be the case, and sometimes it won't be the case. And I'll show you where I think it made some mistakes, and then we'll just go through every game and see what it says. So there's a lot you can do with the NFL algorithm. It's $50. It's available on my website. I put it back up because people want to know this time in the season. It actually means something this deep in the season with all the stats we have. So yeah, you can follow the link and purchase a copy, but let me just go over the week real quick because I spent a good amount of time making sure this was accurate for everyone that purchased and subscribed throughout the year. Thanks for supporting the NFL algorithm. I really appreciate it. I sold a bunch, and that's why I'm still doing it here 16 weeks into the season and trying to put some effort into it to make it better. So anyway, all that being said, Houston over Cleveland. Both these teams are absolutely fighting for it. Houston's trying to win a division or get a wild card. Cleveland is trying to fight for a wild card in a really tough division. Like when you look at the standings here and you see this stuff over here, Cleveland's got the wild card right now. They're leading the wild card race, and then there's a huge pack of other teams right behind them, being Buffalo, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, or Jacksonville, or Houston, because they all have the same record in their division. Denver trying to get in there at 7-7. Even the Steelers at 7-7, technically not eliminated yet, but it's really, really, really tight for the both wild card positions in the AFC. The NFC is more cut and dry because there's four good teams, being the Niners, Detroit, that's right, I said Detroit, Philadelphia, and Dallas, that have made sure that they're winning their division or getting a wild card for sure, basically at this point. And then you've got teams that may or may not make the playoffs based on whether or not they can win their division. And that's going to be a Tampa Bay, New Orleans, or Atlanta situation. And then you've got a dogfight for the wild card between the Rams, the Seahawks, the Falcons, the Saints, the Buccaneers, Minnesota, for that one last wild card, right? They're all fighting for that one last wild card. Even Green Bay, you can put them in there, but it's trouble. It's trouble for those teams. So what does that mean when you look at the week? It means that what is a great game of Baltimore and San Francisco does not actually mean all that much to those teams. I know they're fighting for home field advantage in the playoffs or something, but it is not their season either way if they lose this game, and they have to know that because of how strong they're already positioned. And so that means that this game is a little bit less predictable. And it says there aren't very many points in this game, so it does say that, but I'm going to stay away from thinking that it knows who's going to win this game, because while these teams are both fighting, it doesn't mean it as much as some of the other games. Same thing with Dallas and Miami. Both these teams are making the playoffs. It's not the end of the world either way. So these two games, I don't think you necessarily know who's going to be playing harder or how hard they have to play, honestly. I know they're both winning teams looking for home field, but still, it does matter. Games that are just cut and dry that have to have teams that have to have it. Green Bay, for example, has to have this game if they have any chance. So they're definitely done for the season if they don't beat Carolina. So they probably will. Probably. But they also don't have much of a chance anyway. So there's that weighs into the team. But that whole town up there in Wisconsin definitely wants them to still be alive, and they're probably going to be fighting. So they are probably a good pick on a round robin or something. They're probably going to win. They're going to want it. And the algorithm says they do win. The Houston-Cleveland game, man, I guess you trust the algorithm picking an underdog here, but still, yeah, both these teams are going to be fighting heavily for this. So there you have that. Chicago and Arizona, both these teams are pretty much eliminated. So anything can happen in a game like this. I wouldn't even worry about it. Denver wants to keep their chances alive for the wild card. They're going to want to play. They're supposed to beat the Patriots. This is the one I've focused on. Excuse me. This is the one I have focused on when it comes to what I think is probably the best survivor pool pick of the week. With teams that you probably have left. You can see they have a pretty good win score percentage. Says they win. We'll see if they win. They're at home. Another thing that's good. Tougher games to pick as both these teams could win or lose. Tennessee is pretty much eliminated. Seattle is not yet eliminated. Seattle's fighting for that last wild card. Drew Lock played well. They had some heart. This game's in Tennessee, though. I definitely would not take Tennessee because Seattle needs to fight for this game more. Tennessee really doesn't have a chance. It's too far back. So I'm partial to thinking Seattle can win this game. I would not take Tennessee. A game with teams, it doesn't matter. Washington and the Jets, anything can happen. At least the Washington's at a good line. Eagles and Giants. Eagles probably going to win this game just because the Giants are not very good. It's not the end of the world somehow, even though if the Eagles don't win, would screw their chances and push them maybe toward a wild card instead of winning the division. But there you go. It's not the end of the world either way. But the Eagles probably win, but the line's really tough. Chargers and the Bills. This is one where the Bills have to have this game. Chargers are probably eliminated. Chargers are already at 5-9. Yeah, they're pretty much eliminated. And they deserve to be. They've let us down a million times this year in the algorithm. Bills have to have this game. They got to have it. So, yeah, that's why the Chargers are plus 575. I'm saddened to see this point projection favoring the Chargers, but the win score doesn't. So Buffalo probably wins this game, but it's difficult to wager on the way the odds are set up in that game. Chiefs should beat the Raiders. Line's also terrible. Says the game's within a touchdown. So there you go. She's like Indianapolis, Atlanta. Teams fighting for their lives. This game's in Atlanta. Well, yeah, it could totally go either way. That's what it's saying. Has no idea. Too close, two teams fighting. It's way too close. All these games are going to come under the same basic description. That's amazing because the number of teams down here where it matters is almost all of them. I mean, matters, really matters for the Saints fighting for division or wild card, really matters for the Rams fighting for wild card, really matters for Minnesota fighting to keep the wild card or potentially overtake Detroit because they play each other twice toward the end of the season here. So Minnesota 1,000% fighting for their season in this game. They have to have this game and they're at home and they're an underdog. And it's because people think Detroit is better, but man, Minnesota has to have this game. Vikings, when you look at the schedule, they have to be playing like this is their season right here. And they got a chance to, I believe, win the division if they win out and Detroit loses out. So an enormous game for Minnesota, much more so than for Detroit, because Detroit isn't expecting to lose out and they get to play them again. But it's enormous for Minnesota. So Minnesota probably going to win this game. They really want it. Jacksonville fighting for division, fighting for wild card. Tampa Bay, same exact thing. Absolute battle. It does say Jacksonville's the better team by win score percentage. Significantly has it a really close points game. It's a reasonable line, but the game's in Tampa Bay. But both these teams are in Florida. I don't know. It's a tough one. As you can see, it's really close. And then there's Cincinnati barely beating the Steelers. And if the Steelers have any season left, they have to win this week. And pretty much the same thing for Cincinnati, because if you start losing ground in this wild card race where you're fighting with 3 or 4 other teams around the same record, you can't be losing games. So enormous game for both teams, sort of bigger for Cincinnati because Pittsburgh's on the outside looking in with 3 teams ahead of them or something already. So I think that Cincinnati, well, going into Pittsburgh is really going to want this game. Boy, talk about some nail-biting football over this Christmas week here, right? Oh, yeah. When is Christmas? Is it on like Sunday? What's going on? 21, 22, 23, 24. No, Christmas is Monday. So the Monday night Christmas game is 3 of them. Oh my goodness. Oh, all these games are on Monday. I updated the schedule just to make sure. Remember, I said most of these games don't matter all that much, except this matters for the Chiefs. Interesting. So when you look at Sunday and Saturday and Thursday, you get actually a lot cleaner look at the games. Rams barely. Both teams fighting for their season. This game's in LA. You know. So what do we agree with? I'll go with the algorithm to say that Houston somehow wins this game. Green Bay has to win. Denver has to win. Seattle has to win. That's why I think they win. Buffalo has to win. Chiefs are probably going to win. But that line is terrible, so I almost want to not lose that one. Can't pick it. Rams. Vikings desperately have to have this game. Jacksonville, yes. Cincinnati, yes, because they're just better than the Steelers somehow this year, even with their backup quarterback. And I'm going to say Minnesota because they have to win this game. And why not at plus 152? So that's 9 picks. But you can't bet on Buffalo because their line is terrible. So it's really 8 picks. The rest of these picks you can put on like a round robin. Houston, Green Bay, Denver, Seattle. You could almost pull Seattle off because the algorithm does not agree with it, which would then leave these 6. And these ones are way close. And if you're just going for 3 of them, it's saying Houston, Green Bay, and Denver are the big 3 that you would go with up top here in terms of order. And that should be used. Yeah, everything else you can see has a positive win score and a positive point projection. So of these 6 games, you're going to go 2-1 or maybe 3-0 up top here. And in general, you go about 2-2 down here. Sorry, there's 3 of them. You go like 2-1 down here. But at this point in the year, because it's looking at so much of the stats, it's supposed to be better. It's supposed to give you the edge on games like this. And it's consistent on all this. So you probably go 2-1 down here also. And then you can have a really good day going 5-1 with those 6 teams. So that's what the algorithm is recommending to do when it comes to money line. Cincinnati, Jacksonville, the Rams. I'm doing Minnesota for fun, but I wouldn't recommend it. Denver, Green Bay, and Houston. Those are my fun 7. And good luck, everyone. Enjoy your week 16, and may all your picks be winning.